You're sitting there scrolling through your banking app at 2 a.m. and you see that direct deposit hit your account. $2,000, maybe $3,000, and for exactly 47 seconds you feel rich. You feel like you've made it. Then you remember the rent is due, the car payment is automatic, your credit card minimum is $140, and somehow you're already doing mental gymnastics trying to figure out if you can afford to order Thai food this weekend. If that scenario just punched you in the gut, keep watching, because what I'm about to show you isn't just about why you're broke right now. It's about why you're going to stay broke for way longer than you think, unless you understand what's actually happening here. My name is Elon Musk, and I spend way too much time thinking about why intelligent people make catastrophically bad money decisions. If you're someone who makes decent money but somehow never has any money, who's tired of living paycheck to paycheck while watching everyone else seemingly figure it out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. The average American thinks they'll be financially stable in about 3 to 5 years. They genuinely believe that. But according to a Federal Reserve study from 2023, 63% of Americans couldn't cover a $500 emergency expense without going into debt. And here's what's really disturbing. That percentage has barely moved in the last 15 years. You know what that means? It means people aren't getting better at money. They're getting better at convincing themselves they're about to get better at money. There's a massive difference. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. Most people will be broke for another 10 to 15 years longer than they're expecting. And it's not because they're not working hard enough. It's not because they need to make more money. It's because they fundamentally misunderstand what being broke actually means. Now you might be thinking, Elon, I'm not broke. I've got money in my account right now. No, let me redefine something for you. You're not broke when you have $0. You're broke when you have zero options. You're broke when one unexpected $1,200 expense would completely derail your entire month. You're broke when you can't quit a job you hate because you'd miss 2 paychecks and lose everything. Let me give you a real example. Meet Sarah. She makes $68,000 a year. That's above the median household income in America. She's got $2,400 in her checking account right now. By most standards, she's doing fine, right? Wrong. Sarah has $18,000 in student loans, $6,200 in credit card debt, a car payment of $420 a month, and exactly $800 in her savings account. If Sarah loses her job today, she's got maybe 6 weeks before complete financial catastrophe. 6 weeks, that's not financial stability, that's financial tightrope walking. And here's what most people don't realize. Sarah represents roughly 45% of American workers earning between $50,000 and $75,000 annually. This is where it gets really interesting. There's this phenomenon I call the income illusion, and it's destroying people's financial futures. Here's how it works. You're making $45,000 a year. You're struggling. You think, man, if I could just make $60,000, I'd be set. I'd finally get ahead. So you hustle, you get that promotion, or you switch jobs. Suddenly you're making $62,000, and for about 3 months you feel amazing. But then something insidious happens. Your lifestyle expands to meet your income. You move to a slightly nicer apartment. $1,400 a month instead of $1,050. You deserve it, right? You worked hard. You finally get that gym membership you've been putting off. $89 a month. You upgrade your car because that old one was becoming unreliable. Now you're at $380 a month instead of $220. Before you know it, you're making 38% more money, but you're exactly as broke as you were before. Actually, you might be more broke because now you've got higher fixed expenses and less flexibility. According to research from the Chase Institute analyzing millions of bank accounts, the typical household that receives a 25% pay increase sees their checking account balance increase by only 8% after 1 year. 8%, where did the other 17% go? It evaporated into lifestyle inflation. Look, here's what's actually keeping you broke, and this is going to make you uncomfortable. It's not your salary, it's not your student loans, it's not even that emergency that came up last month. It's that you're trying to look like you're not broke. Let me explain. There's this psychological trap that researchers call reference group spending. Basically, you spend money based on what the people around you are spending. Your gets a new iPhone, suddenly yours feels ancient. Your friend posts about their weekend trip to Miami. You're booking flights to Nashville because you need a break too. A study from the University of Chicago found that people are willing to pay an average of 15% more for consumer goods when they know their social circle can see their purchases. 15%, you're paying a premium just to not feel left behind. And social media has absolutely weaponized this against you. You're not comparing yourself to your actual neighbors anymore. You're comparing yourself to everyone's highlight reel, everyone's vacation, everyone's new car, everyone's perfect apartment. Here's the math that'll blow your mind. If you make $55,000 a year and you're spending just 15% more than you should on lifestyle items because of social comparison, That's $8,250 a year. Over 10 years, that's $82,500. With compound interest, if you'd invested that at an average 8% return, we're talking about nearly $126,000. You just gave up $126,000 to not feel broke around people who are probably also broke, but hiding it better than you. Now you might be thinking, okay, Elon, I get it, I'm broke, but I'm young. I've got time to figure this out. That's exactly the thinking that's going to keep you broke until you're 45. Here's what actually happens to most people. Let's say you're 28 right now, you're thinking by 35 I'll have it together. But between 28 and 35, life happens. You might get married, maybe you have a kid, your parents might need financial help, your car will definitely need to be replaced, you'll probably move at least once, maybe twice. You'll change jobs at least once, possibly facing gaps in employment. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average person will change jobs 12 times during their career, and each job change comes with an average transition cost of about $4,000 when you factor in moving, wardrobe updates, and the gap between paychecks. So you get to 35 and you're not financially stable. You're just older and broke with more responsibilities. Now you're thinking, okay, by 45 I'll definitely have it figured out. But the same pattern repeats. More life, more expenses, more unexpected situations. Before you know it, you're 52 years old looking at retirement in 13 years, and you've got $37,000 in your 401k. The median American in their 50s has about $71,000 saved for retirement. You know how much financial planners say you should have. At age 60, you should have 6 times your annual salary saved. If you're making $70,000, that's $420,000. The gap between $71,000 and $420,000 is a chasm that you cannot cross with last-minute panic saving. Here's what most people don't realize about being broke. It's not a static state. It's a compounding crisis. Being broke today makes you more broke tomorrow. Let me show you exactly how this works with real numbers. Let's say you can't afford a $300 car repair right now. So you put it on a credit card at 24% APR. You're paying minimum payments, that $300 repair. Over 2 years, it actually costs you $395. You just paid an extra $95 for the privilege of being broke when your car broke down. But it gets worse, because you couldn't afford the $300 repair up front, you delayed fixing it for 2 weeks. That delay caused additional damage. Now it's a $700 repair instead of $300. And because your credit card is maxed out from the first repair, you have to use a different card with an even higher interest rate, or worse, you have to use a payday loan. This is what I call the broke tax. Poor people pay more for everything. They pay overdraft fees, they pay late fees, they pay higher interest rates, they can't buy in bulk to save money. They can't afford the higher upfront cost of quality items that last longer, so they buy cheap stuff that breaks and has to be replaced 3 times as often. A study from the Washington Center for Equitable Growth found that low-income Americans pay an average of $2,412 per year in fees, an interest that wealthier Americans completely avoid. That's $2,412 every single year that you're paying just for being broke. Over 20 years, that's $48,240 down the drain. Now here's where we get to the real solution, and it's not what you think. Everyone wants me to tell them to cut out lattes or cancel Netflix. That's not going to change your life. You know what will change your life? Understanding that personal finance is 20% math and 80% psychology. The reason you're going to be broke longer than expected isn't because you don't know you should save money. Everyone knows that. It's because you haven't made the psychological shift from consumer to investor. Let me explain the difference. A consumer sees $500 and thinks, what can I buy? An investor sees $500 and thinks, what can this become? It's a completely different operating system. When you're a consumer, you're always trying to maximize present pleasure. When you're an investor, you're always trying to maximize future options. And here's the thing. You can't be both. You have to choose. Every single day, with every single dollar, you're choosing between present pleasure and future options. Most people think they're choosing balance. They're not. They're choosing present pleasure 95% of the time and wondering why their future isn't improving. Look, if you want to stop being broke sooner rather than later, here's what actually has to happen. And I'm warning you, you're not going to like it. First, you have to have what I call a come to Jesus moment with your actual numbers. Not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. Track every single dollar for 1 month, not to judge yourself, not to feel guilty, just to see the truth. Most people are shocked to discover they're spending $400, $600 a month on things they can't even remember buying. Second, you need to build what I call an oh shit fund before you do anything else. Not an emergency fund, an oh shit fund. $1,000 in cash that you don't touch unless something actually breaks or falls apart. This single fund will save you thousands in broke taxes over the next few years. Here's how you do it. You're going to find $250 a month. I don't care how. Cancel subscriptions, sell stuff, work a side gig for 8 weeks, whatever it takes. In 4 months, you've got your $1,000. This breaks the cycle of using credit cards for emergencies. Third, and this is crucial, you have to kill one major expense, not reduce it, kill it. This is where people fail. They try to nibble around the edges. I'll spend $50 less on groceries. That's not going to change your trajectory. You need to eliminate something big. Can you move somewhere cheaper, even temporarily? Can you sell the car with a payment and buy a $5,000 car in cash? Can you get a roommate and cut your housing cost in half for 2 years? These aren't fun options, they're effective options. Here's the math. If you're spending $1,200 on rent and you get a roommate, you're now spending $600. That's $600 a month extra. $7,200 a year. In 2 years, that's $14,400. That's enough to completely change your financial position. That's your oh shit fund, 3 months of expenses saved, and the beginning of an investment account. This is where it gets really interesting. Once you've got your $1,000 buffer and you've killed one major expense, something magical happens. You start making decisions from a position of options instead of desperation. You can wait for a better deal on a car repair. You can negotiate your salary more confidently because you're not terrified of losing your job. You can invest in yourself, in skills and opportunities because you're not constantly putting out financial fires. Let me show you what 2 different paths look like. Person A makes $55,000 and saves nothing because they're waiting until they make more money to start saving. Person B makes the same $55,000 but cuts one major expense and saves $400 a month. After 5 years, Person A has saved $0 and paid roughly $12,000 in various fees and interest. Person B has saved $24,000 plus interest, avoided most fees, and has financial breathing room. After 10 years, Person A is still living paycheck to paycheck, now making $68,000 but with proportionally higher expenses. Person B has approximately $61,000 saved with compound interest, has probably bought a house or made significant investments, and is making financial decisions from abundance instead of scarcity. After 20 years, Person A is 48 years old with maybe $40,000 in retirement savings, stressed about the future. Person B is 48 years old with over $250,000 in various investments, owns property, and is on track for comfortable retirement. Same starting income, completely different lives, and it all came down to decisions made in year 1. Look, here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. You're probably going to be broke for another 8-12 years longer than you're expecting because you're not willing to be uncomfortable today. You're choosing present comfort over future freedom. And I get it, I really do. It sucks to have a roommate when you're 32. It sucks to drive a car that's not impressive. It sucks to say no to trips and dinners and all the things that make life feel full right now. But you know what sucks more? Being 55 years old and realizing you've got 10 years until you're supposed to retire and you can't afford to. Working a job you hate at 60 because you have no choice. That sucks infinitely more. So here's where you are right now. You can close this video and go back to scrolling, back to hoping things will magically get better, back to planning on fixing everything next year. Or you can make a different choice. You can decide that you're going to be the exception. You're going to be the person who actually does the uncomfortable things today so you can have the life you want tomorrow. The path out exists, I just showed it to you. $1,000 buffer, kill one major expense, invest the difference, repeat for 5 years, that's it. It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Most people won't do it. They'll stay broke for another decade, wondering why they can't get ahead, blaming the economy, blaming their boss, blaming their circumstances. But some of you are going to do something different. You're going to open your banking app right now. You're going to look at your real numbers. You're going to make one hard decision today that changes your trajectory. Which person are you going to be? If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and drop a comment below telling me which major expense you're going to kill. Let's build some accountability here. Your financial future is being decided right now, not next year, not when you make more money, right now. Make the decision that your future self will thank you for. I'll see you in the next video.